New Orleans Saints, a fascinating one in New Orleans. They kick it off with Kelvin Banks at number 9 overall, the offensive tackle out of Texas. And the rumors were true. They were targeting a second-round quarterback. It's Tyler Shough, the QB out of Louisville. So the 26-year-old drafted in round 2 for the Saints. Vernon Broughton from Texas, defensive tackle in round 3. They go Jonas Sanker from Virginia, the safety, with their second third-round pick. Danny Stutzman from Oklahoma, linebacker in round 4. Quincy Riley, the cornerback out of Louisville, and with their second fourth-rounder. And then other interesting picks include Devin Neal from Kansas in round 6, the running back, and then Fadil from Syracuse, 7th-round edge rusher. Your thoughts on this Saints draft, Sam?
Yeah, interesting draft. It feels a little bit, I guess, unexciting, but I think it's good. Like Kelvin Banks in the first round made a ton of sense. Offensive linemen generally in this draft were going higher than the projections were at the top of the draft, certainly in the first round. So Kelvin Banks at number 9 makes sense to me. Not forcing a quarterback at 9 makes sense to me, especially given the slide from Shedeur Sanders, given the fact that Jackson Dart was the next one off the board. Tyler Shough in the second round, look, identifying him as the quarterback, I understand it. It's not the one I would have gone with, but I get it. Like after you got through Cam Ward, it was kind of chaos in terms of the quarterback evaluation. I think a lot of the Shedeur evaluation was not based on his on-the-field stuff. Tyler Shough, so he's interesting because weird backstory, incredibly long career. So much of it was derailed by injuries. The injuries were strange in and of themselves, like random broken bones, including ones where his leg just kind of buckled under him. So he's been in college a long time, is not actually that experienced in terms of playing time. The style that he plays with is very throwbacky. It's not the way a lot of these modern quarterbacks are playing. It looks more like a quarterback from 20 years ago. And I think some coaches will gravitate towards that. Same with the sort of offense. Stylistically, it's more like those old offenses. And then, of course, you've got that giant red flag of he's literally the architect of maybe the single worst play I've ever seen from a quarterback, where he panics like somebody who's never played the game before, an underhand hot potato throws the ball away rather than taking a hit. And look, everyone has bad plays in there, but I think it's important to underline the difference between that play and like Will Levis, right? Almost every other quarterback's horrific, terrible, bad plays are trying to make a play that isn't there to be made. That play was different because it was genuinely like, I want to just get rid of this ball from my hands rather than be hit with while I'm holding it, and just underarm pitched it away. Like, it was so crazy that when it was posted on Twitter, JT O'Sullivan didn't believe it was real. Like he genuinely thought that it was like CGI or AI had manufactured. Like he could not believe that that was a real play that an NFL prospect made. And I think that's different from anything else you're going to see.
Yeah, I don't want to harp on that one play. It's alarming, but there's other plays on film. He does a little bit of chuck and duck. In my notes, I wrote he's got that downfield aggressive. He's downfield aggressive for better or for worse. Obviously, that play was different, but he's aggressive down the field for better or for worse. But I also wrote he's got this gunslinger creativity. Like he back shouldered a post route one time. You don't usually throw a back. You don't always see quarterbacks back shoulder it on a traditional post. Usually just don't throw it. But he's got some creativity to it, if it's covered like that, is what I'm saying. So he's got some creativity to him. So there's some boomer bust. I was also shocked at how well and how often he threw rolling to his left. There's the Notre Dame touchdown in the red zone. There's another play against Virginia where he puts it. I tweeted out a few days ago, or retweeted. Puts it on his receiver's hands at the back of the end zone while rolling left. You don't always get that from a right-handed quarterback. So he's got some tools to work with. Yeah. The age thing, I think, can be overblown because you have to weigh it a couple different ways. He just had this really nice year in the ACC at Louisville at the age of 25. He turned 25 during the season. That was his only real good year. That was it out of 7 years in college. You have to weigh that. And then the other part, it's not like, oh, he's 25, so you're not going to get 15 years out of him. He'll be too old. Like, that part's okay. So I don't think the age works against him as far as that goes. Hey, guys, just taking a quick break to tell you, hey, just over 50% of you are still unsubscribed to Check the Mic. It helps the channel. It helps to make sure that you don't miss any of our shows. So if you have a chance, hit the subscribe button right now.
No, I mean, I'm far more concerned by the reason he was a 25-year-old breakout than the fact that he was a 25-year-old breakout. Like, I'm concerned by the fact that he had multiple sort of significant bone-breaking injuries randomly. Then that feels like a bigger red flag than the fact that he's 25 now. And look, the ridiculous play that I talked about before, it's so bad that if it was just that on its own, I would be already concerned. But I think for him in particular, it is indicative of a certain pattern of behavior under pressure that is also troubling. Like you mentioned, those chuck and duck plays. I think generally speaking, he does not look at all comfortable under pressure. He looks big picture wise, right? Everyone is always going to have individual plays here or there where they play well, they play badly under pressure. But overall, I think he has quite a troubling trend of sort of panicked play under pressure or very uncomfortable looking under pressure. So the way that Kirk Cousins had this for a long time, and this is not always a permanent thing. I think generally you tend to stay one way or the other in terms of how you relate to pressure. But early in Kirk Cousins' career, he had a lot of panicked plays under pressure. And actually the last few years when he was with Kevin O'Connell, he turned that around a bit and actually started to play a lot better under pressure and would stare down the barrel of the gun and make a play knowing he was going to take a hit and all those kinds of things. Right now, I think Tyler Shough has a troubling relationship with pressure and does not have, some of the skills that would offset that. That would be a concern for a guy that I'm sort of identifying as a potential future starter and getting in the second round.
So the Saints take him at pick 40. We know Derek Carr dealing with an offseason shoulder injury. Not sure what his status will be for the year, but there's a path to the field, obviously. Shough potentially playing this season. The Kelvin Banks move, I thought, it marks the second straight year now that the Saints have drafted a tackle in the first round. Last year was Talise Fuanga. I don't know. So there's a world where Trevor Penning is still back this year as the starting right tackle. They did not pick up his fifth-year option, but that's for 2026. He still has one more year with the Saints. So Penning could still start at right tackle. Fuanga started at left tackle last year. Banks could just start at left guard this year, or they could think about Banks just playing his natural left tackle spot everywhere where he played at Texas and moving Fuanga back to right tackle where he played in college at Oregon State and then trading Trevor Penning. So there's some flexibility there, but I think either way, whether it's this year or next, Banks is a future starting tackle, whether it's the left or right side here for the Saints. And there was a point in the draft where he was the consensus number 2 tackle before Amon Membu surpassed him in the consensus and on the draft board. But I think Banks is a reasonable starter at tackle. So that was a good pick, I think, at 9. Vernon Broughton for Texas, another, we talked about the year 7 breakout for the quarterback, but Broughton's more of a year 5 breakout for Texas. They've had a loaded defensive tackle group these last couple of years. Devondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Alfred Collins went in the second round. Broughton, though, was really productive. It just took 5 years for him to actually start, but like one of the higher graded defensive tackles in the nation last year at Texas. I think he's got some pass rush ability, but again, he does it at 23 years old, and how much does that matter? Danny Stutzman, I think, has some ability against the run as a linebacker. Worry about some of the stiffness and coverage for him. I thought Quincy Riley at corner is a really good depth play for a team that I think did a nice job in free agency, shoring up the starting spots at corner. But I think he can compete for for some starter snaps. He's feisty, could probably play inside and outside. So I think there's a path for him to get to the field. So again, I didn't love a lot of the players up and down the board, but like other teams, Riley in the 4th has a path to the field. Devin Neal, I loved his quickness in short areas as a running back. There's opportunities for a bunch of these guys.
Yeah, Quincy Riley, some of the day 3 picks I really like. Quincy Riley, Devin Neal, the running back from Kansas, and then Fadil Diggs, the Syracuse edge rusher. Those 3 guys, I think, slipped further than I was expecting them to, and to pick all 3 of them up, I think, is a nice move. Diggs, again, we're back on board with this. I'm buying all the propaganda. Former Texas A&M, where he was not good and then immediately left and looked better. So I'm buying that last year's version of him, the Syracuse version, is the player you're going to get going forward. And I think for a 7th round pick, that's a steal.
Consensus did not love the Saints. They have them at 28th overall as far as GPAs go. Nobody higher than a B, it seems. I know there's one A-, a whole bunch of Bs. But there was a lot of consistent C's and a couple D's in there. So people didn't love the Saints. I wonder if that's just QB, if it's, as you mentioned, it doesn't feel, it feels unexciting. But there's some solid football players from round 3 on, as we've talked about.
Yeah, in terms of value relative to the consensus board, Arif's work didn't love them either. Didn't hate them, but they were like 10 from the bottom of the value picks. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.